What's up everybody, my name is Brad and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is a bit different than what I normally do. I usually don't do recommendation or list type videos. I have in the past, but it's been a really long time since I've done one, but I wanted to do one for you guys today, bring some variety to the channel, switch it up a little bit. But today I want to talk about 5 non-horror books that I think horror readers will enjoy. And when I say non-horror, that's just not my opinion saying, well, I don't consider this horror. These books, they're not marketed as horror. The genres listed for them are not horror. There's one that wouldn't surprise me if it was on the horror shelf at like a Barnes & Noble. We'll get into that in a minute. But it's not marketed or listed as horror. There's no monsters in these, no creepy crawlies, no vampires, werewolves, cosmic entities, anything like that. These are all real life situations, real life human horrors that occur in the everyday world. Everything in these books is possible. So we'll go ahead and dive into it. 5 books. These aren't in any particular order. Just 5 non-horror books I think horror readers will enjoy. So let's go ahead and dive in. First up is The Wolf in the Watchmen. And bear with me on the pronunciation. The author's name, I believe, is Nicholas Knock-Ockdog. He's a Swedish author. This was translated from Swedish to English. And I really enjoy this book. It's super dark and brutal. It takes place in 1793 in Stockholm. So you have a mix of historical fiction, thriller, mystery, detective type of story here. It's basically a murder mystery, a whodunit. At the beginning, there's this mutilated corpse that's found, and this ex-soldier, this night watcher, comes across it, and he gets wrapped up in wanting to discover who this person was so that they can give this person, this mutilated corpse, its arms and legs have been missing, give them a proper burial, and also find out who murdered this person. Like I said, it takes place in Stockholm. And the city itself really gives life to the story. It becomes a character on its own. This gritty, dark, dirty, disgusting type of town or city it is at the time really lends to the overall atmosphere, this dreary, bleak atmosphere of the story. It's super brutal and violent. And like I said, has the murder mystery, all the torture and all that kind of stuff involved with a murder mystery like this, sort of like true crime in a way. This is a perfect example of 1-star reviews selling books. If you go to Amazon and look at the 1-star reviews for this book, the vast majority of them, not all of them, but the vast majority of the 1-star reviews will talk about how gruesome and brutal and despicable this book is. And for horror readers, that's sort of things we look for in a book, how graphic and violent a book is. So it really spoke to me as a horror lover. I enjoyed the book. It was a lot of fun. Great thriller, murder mystery. With really, really dark undertones in the book. This is my first recommendation, The Wolf in the Watchmen by Nicholas Knock-Ockdog. Next, this is a book you've seen me talk about a lot on this channel, and that is Songbirds and Stray Dogs by Megan Lucas. These next 4 books, they all have a lot in common. They're all sort of regional, grit-lit type of things, and I really think, in my opinion, that really lends towards a horror type of audience. In this book, we're following our main character, Jolene. She's a young adult, maybe in her early 20s. She's become pregnant, and basically she's abandoned by everyone that she knows. Her father's not in the picture. Her mother has disappeared. The baby daddy doesn't want anything to do with her. Her aunt, who she was living with, kicks her out once she realizes she's become pregnant. So there's this young, pregnant girl, doesn't have a job, doesn't have really any resources of her own, and gets kicked out to fend for herself in the harsh world. We deal with bits of crime elements in here, some drug abuse, different things like that, some sexual assault, whatnot, some really dark themes in this book. It's about family and finding family, even though they might not be blood family. This book, it's heartbreaking at times, it's gut-wrenching. The character work in here is fantastic. You'll really come to grow attached to the characters in this book, and then when the bad things happen to them, it'll break your heart. I would say the ending at best is bittersweet ending. When we got to interview Megan on Paper Cuts, she talked a little bit about, and I'm going to paraphrase, how sort of the mom book clubs in the world didn't really like this book as much as other books because of the ending. It is a darker ending, a bleak ending for the type of genre that this book is. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it is dark, and you'll come to love these characters and then grow heartbroken when things happen to them. My second recommendation is Songbirds and Stray Dogs by Megan Lucas. Up next is The Devil All the Time by Donald Ray Pollock. Again, keeping with the Southern grit, sort of Rust Belt type of regional lit theme going on. This book, it's a tapestry novel. I don't think that's the right word. A mosaic novel, I think, is what I'm looking for. At least I felt it was. Really, all of our storylines revolve around the main city of Knockemstiff, set in Ohio. That's sort of the center of our spider web, and we sort of sprout out from there. This book, it's really about the darkness we all harbor within us, the devil inside of us, and what we can do to unleash that devil at certain times. We deal with sexual predators and murderers, serial killers, all kinds of different just horrible, heinous people in this book, corrupt officials, corrupt law enforcement, that kind of thing. And it's really just this sort of bleak tale at rural life in Ohio at the time, a sort of backwater in a way. It's dark, it's bleak. All these books are dark and bleak. That's sort of the theme throughout. But really graphic stuff in here as well, savage stuff. Really enjoyed, might not be the right word, but the storyline of the serial killer go around taking pictures of people and then killing them. I don't want to get too much more into it, but this book is awesome as well. I haven't seen the movie yet. I really want to see the movie. But definitely check out my third recommendation, The Devil All the Time by Donald Ray Pollock. Next up is another book I've been talking about recently on the channel, and that is Betty by Tiffany McDaniel. If I could coin a phrase for this book, I think it would be beautiful tragedy. The prose is just absolutely gorgeous, contrasted with this tragic and heartbreaking subject matter. Again, basically any trigger warning you can think of, sexual assault, rape, incest, racism, violence, kid death, animal abuse, all kinds of stuff in this book. This book, it's about this young girl, Betty, and sort of her life story growing up in Ohio, dealing with racism and violence and horrible tragedies that have happened to her family, losing loved ones, all kinds of stuff. It's a really sad book, but again, it's written in such a beautiful way, you just can't not read it. There's almost these magical realism sort of elements to it. Her father, Landon, the Native American, he tells these stories, these sort of little glimmers of hope, to these escapism type things, to pull them away from their horrible day-to-day, their poverty, the racism, all that kind of stuff they have to deal with, and give them these little stories, these little glimmers. Sort of an example is he talks about his heart is this glass sort of chamber, this glass box, and there's a bird fluttering inside. That's his heartbeat. And when the glass shell breaks of his heart, the bird will fly his soul to heaven. Those kind of stories, you know, they're not real, but maybe they could be real, sort of mixed with folklore and that kind of stuff. But really an awesome book, a tragic book. This is probably, it's definitely my top 3 books I've read so far this year. Definitely check it out. My fourth recommendation is Betty by Tiffany McDaniel. And last but certainly not least is Where All Light Tends to Go by David Joy. This was the first David Joy book I ever read, and it made me fall in love with his storytelling. Again, this is that Appalachian regional grit lit type stuff. We're more heavily into sort of crime aspects in this book, drug dealing, drugs, that kind of thing. And we are in North Carolina, sort of on the outskirts in the rural part of Appalachia. And our character, our main character, I think he's just graduated high school, and it's sort of this looming shadow over him. He wants to escape, get out of this life that he thinks he's destined for. His father's a drug dealer. Basically, when you say the last name of the family, everyone sort of knows, you know, oh, those are the bad people, don't talk about them. He wants to escape, but he doesn't feel like he can. He feels like there's this ball and chain around his ankle that he is destined to follow in his father's footsteps, whether he wants to or not. He feels like he has no control over his life or his destiny at all. And again, this was a really bleak ending. I was shocked. This is put out by Putnam Books, so a bigger name publisher. You know, Indian small press, you'll get sort of dark, bleak endings, and you kind of expect that. You don't really expect that with more mainstream releases, and that really caught me off guard with this one. I was not expecting it to be such a dark and bleak ending that we got. But I think that's what made me fall in love with David Joy, is that he went there, he did that ending, and you know, it's the real life ending. And you don't always get fairy tale endings in books, and that's definitely what you get with this one. You do not get a fairy tale ending in this one. Again, just dark stuff, lots of drug abuse and violence and whatnot in this one. But my final recommendation is Where All Light Tends to Go by David Joy. So those have been my 5 non-horror books that I think horror readers will enjoy. Have you read any of these books? If so, let me know what you thought about them down in the comments. or if you have other recommendations for non-horror books that you think horror readers will enjoy, let me know down in the comments as well. If you like this type of video, this sort of list recommendation video, let me know. I might have some more lined up for you guys in the future. But if you have any ideas for any topics you'd like me to discuss in these types of videos, let me know as well. That's all I have for you guys today. So thank you all for spending your time with me. Again, my name is Brad, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.